Welcome to Is It Wrong to Watch So Much Anime with Jason and John, as we give you a quick 15 to 20 minutes of inside opinion and updates about the world of anime as we see it. This program is brought to you by the Parker Williams Branch, a Harris County Public Library. Let's go over the rules. This is a planned topics podcast. We will try and stick to the topic at hand and not have too many tangents. Number 2, while recording, we will have a 15-minute timer. We will try to wrap everything up within that 15 minutes. If we are having a good conversation towards the end of that time, there will be a bonus 5 minutes to wrap it up. Number 3, if the conversation is still too good to stop, we will stop recording that episode and start recording an overtime episode back-to-back released on the same day. And a fair warning, spoilers happen. Oops, our bad. Hello and welcome to this episode of Is It Wrong to Watch So Much Anime? As always, it isn't.
Nope.
Today's episode, we're going to focus on director and screenwriter and creator Makoto Shinkai, especially his two movies, Your Name and Weathering with You.
Yes, both really good movies if you haven't watched them.
Now, a little bit about the man himself. He is a Japanese animator, filmmaker, manga artist, and director. He grew up in the Nagano Prefecture. He also studied Japanese literature at Chuo University, in which he was a member of the Juvenile Literature Club and has written a few picture books. We don't have them in the library system because that was like in the early...
Forever ago.
Yeah, 2000s.
Forever ago.
Yeah. He has stated before that he has been heavily influenced by the art styles of both Miyazaki from Studio Ghibli and Anno from Evangelion. So what Japanese creator hasn't been inspired by...
Influenced by them? Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They're probably they're considered the heavyweights of the anime world. So yeah,
it'd be
sense.
Like Walt Disney and whoever at DreamWorks is doing a great job. Anywho, so he got his start working at a video game company and then slowly transitioned into film. He is currently married to actress Chiyoko Misaki, and they had a daughter who happens to also be a child actress, Chise Nitsu. He even has an asteroid named after him.
So I know I've heard that. I don't know where. Because it wasn't from you, but because I know this, but I don't know where I heard it from. That's pretty interesting. I think you can buy it nowadays, but still.
Yeah.
Not a lot of people do that.
All right. So, Your Name.
Mm-hmm.
Let's start off with the summary so you know what's going on. So, Mitsuha. I'm terrible with these names as soon as I read them off. Mitsuha
Miyamizu. So close.
God, I'm just not having it today. Is a high school girl living in the countryside town of Itomori. Mm-hmm. She yearns for a life in Tokyo as she is sick of living in the country bumpkin side. At the same time, Taki Tachibana, a high school student who lives in Tokyo, has become interested in architecture, aiming to become an urban planner in the near future.
You got Taki's name right first try, so there you go.
So one day, Mitsuha dreams herself as a boy living in a dense capital, aka Tokyo. Mm-hmm. While Taki dreams of living as a girl in the rural countryside of Itomori. Mm-hmm. As time passes by, the two discover that they are not just dreaming, but they are actually swapping bodies once they fall asleep. Mm-hmm. So Your Name really revolves around Mitsuha and Taki as they experience kind of this supernatural bond where both of them are working together to deal with the strange phenomenon. So how will this impact their everyday life?
Yep.
All right, so Your Name really revolves around the two of them, and with both of them working together to do this strange...
To get through it.
Yeah.
To get through how they're switching bodies and trying to understand it.
So it's like this element of Freaky Friday where the two people switch bodies and places. But every time that they wake, there's a really funny wake-up scene whenever he's in her body, and then the little sister of Mitsuha
notices that he's acting weird, or she's acting weird.
Again.
Let's see. I think the first time I watched it, I didn't connect that it's Freaky Friday for some reason, and then I watched it again, and I was like, wait, this is like that movie. And then when I showed my sister, she said the same thing. As soon as you find out they're switching bodies, she's like, oh, I get it. It's Freaky Friday.
One of the interesting things, though, is in America, we'd probably just go on living the other person's life as our own life from our own perspective. But
because we've seen all the anime and TV, so we know we just roll with it.
But in Japan, like the Japanese culture and mantra is, I wouldn't want to hurt or convenience the other person in their life. So they really try to fit in as the other person with their friends and their family and their classes, since they're both high school students.
They keep journals on each other's cell phones to help them with the transition each time.
So it adds this kind of continuity that one person's actions can leave on another person's. But the interesting thing is they have like different skills and things like that. So like the first time that they switch bodies, Mitsuha, one of the girls that I guess Taki works with at a restaurant, some customer like cut her skirt, like
and Mitsuha uses her know-how of sewing to fix it. Whereas Taki wouldn't have been able to do that because he doesn't know that.
No, and she actually, because she has that ability, she also does some embroidery of like a happy porcupine on the skirt too. So it adds this kind of, I guess, a little bit of a twist, but really kind of neat and sweet in a way. So here's the other twist. Since this movie's been out for so long...
Spoilers.
Yeah, spoilers. They're not just switching bodies, but they're also switching times as well. It's a real shock when you figure that out.
Yes.
So, in the movie itself, there's another work that he did called Voices of a Distant Star, where there's a girl and there's a boy, but the girl's off
anime does,
fighting in mechs like across space. So she sends messages via her phone, but
eventually
the time dilation between them, because they are the transmission time is longer and longer and longer.
It takes longer for them to reach him. It doesn't have the same thing in your name, but it's kinda because of the time travel. So, I mean,
it's
they don't realize it.
It's the use of cell phones to be able to connect these two people these two times, and the building of their relationship through these messages. Because
cell phones are an everyday thing now. That's actually how people make and keep up with their relationships nowadays, as opposed to I don't know, when were phones not a thing? The 30s, the 10s, 1800s. When they did horse carriages anyways and had to like ride to the other person. Nowadays you can just shoot off texts.
The Super Nintendo age.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
You get to keep in contact, and you keep, being able to build on that relationship through the cell phones. And he uses that, I think, he uses it a lot. Not just here, but in the movie you're talking about.
In Voices, it seems like he had some unfinished business, like an unfinished thought, so to speak. So, in which Taki and her, they meet on a train, like years before Taki actually realizes who she is, because she goes to hunt him down, and he's just like, I don't know who you are, lady. But she can recognize him because she has been his face in the future.
Which, the whole time thing kind of doesn't, if you start looking too deeply into it, it kind of doesn't make sense, because phones, how do you not see the year? But I don't think it takes away from the story too much that he's trying to tell.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things that, I've seen it in the movie like 4 or 5 times. Now I'm like,
Well, it's got like a Steins Gate link there with the phones and the messages going back and forth. Speaking of that, at one point in the movie, all of Mitsuha's like journals and texts and everything start to just like boom, 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 get deleted from Taki's phone. So he pretty much tries to go out and find her. So him and a couple other friends try to find this town that he only knows by drawing.
because he's losing his memories. Because for some reason, it's not really made, clear, but I think it's just he's catching up to where she was at when the asteroid hits.
So there is an asteroid that comes and destroys the whole town. So pretty much, Shinkai brings back some of like the Japanese mysticism as well, because earlier in the film, you see Mitsuha and her sister as temple maidens, and they make an offering to the gods, which is sake as usual, but the way that they do it is the old way, which is you pretty much
chew up rice and then spit it out and let it ferment.
Yeah, and that spit rice fermentation process creates the sake, and then they present that later on to their local god, protector, spirit guy thing.
The shrine.
Yeah, pretty much. So, let's see here.
Another thing Mitsuha does, or her family does at the shrines, is traditional weaving. It's called kumihimo. It ties into the story a few times because they say, I think even in the beginning, they talk about how that kind of helps pass down their history and things like that. But it also helps in the present day because Taki ends up with a braided cord around his wrist that he doesn't remember how he got. But it's from her.
And since it is red, it then fits into that whole red ribbon of fate thing. So they were fated to be together from pretty much the start, where we see the ribbon in her hair going to the ribbon on his wrist.
Going back to her hair.
So that continuity thing. Shinkai also brings in some of the... I already said that part. All right. So when Taki was in Mitsuha's body, when they were about to go to like the altar, I guess, like the shrine of the local god, not like their shrine
when they were
that
making
they
their
lived
offering
at.
for the
Yeah.
sake. Okay.
With the sake, he sees that this area was out of bounds of the asteroid. So they earlier talk about this thing called golden hour or magic hour, when the sun is coming down. And so there's about 3 minutes where you can...
During the day.
Where it connects the day and the night. And magical things happen. This is also the time in which he goes and finds the sake that she offered to the local god, and he drinks some of it. Wink, wink. Incidental kiss. Romance.
Anime's full of those. Yeah. After drinking it, they do this cool little montage that really ties back into the mysticism that Makoto Shinkai likes to use. Because he sees all these memories that there's no way he would have been able to see unless he drank this sake and whatever happened in that whole offering place. But it gives him the opportunity to go back one more time, switch places, and try to make sure Mitsuha and that their whole country out in the bumpkins lives.
Instead of getting squashed by an asteroid. So for that 3 minutes in golden hour, they're able to talk and they're able to communicate
each other face
in
to
person.
face.
Tell their sentiments and then basically warn the town. So basically, can Mitsuha and her friends convince enough townspeople to get out of the blast radius to survive? And will they ever meet again?
They remember their names, each other's names.
That is true.
Yeah. It's a good movie. We have a bunch of copies in our system, I'm pretty sure. So it's definitely worth watching.
Definitely worth watching. There's also a manga version. I think it also got turned into a light novel as well. So
we have it too, which is surprising.
Check it out. Now, the second one is Weathering with You. That is, I believe, the last movie that we saw in the theater.
Probably.
Before all of this pandemic business happened.
Yes. I'd say, that's pretty close to what it was.
So,
it was really good too.
In this one, Tokyo is currently experiencing rain showers that disrupt every usual pace of life of people there. And the rain is like no end. It's just coming and coming and coming, just like Seattle. So amidst this seemingly eternal downpour arrives a runaway from high school,
Hodoka Morishima. I got you. Hodoka.
who struggles to financially support himself. So basically, he ran away from home and he's trying to live a life in Tokyo, and he ends up with a small job at a small, like, part-time, I guess, occult magazine.
Online magazine.
So then, at the same time, we also see the orphaned Hina Amano,
I got you.
who also strives to find work to sustain herself and her younger brother. They never say what happened to her parents, but I'm pretty sure they're dead. Like every anime, somebody's parents are dead.
Potentially. I mean, it happens.
So
it's all there.
both of their fates intertwine when Hodoka attempts to rescue Hina from like some shady dudes that were trying to like get her to be like a club girl or something. And they pretty much run away together. Hodoka discovers that Hina has a strange and astounding power, the ability to call out the sun whenever she prays. Now, with Tokyo's unusual weather in mind, Hodoka sees the potential of this ability, and he suggests that Hina should become what's called a sunshine girl, someone who would come and clear the skies for people when they need it most. So weddings and fireworks shows and special occasions and things like that. So things begin to look up for them at first, but since this is Shinkai mysticism, that means that such power and knowledge comes with a hefty price.
Yeah, and I mean, there's no example of power just coming without a price anyways. So
yeah, Uncle Ben
it
has
makes
to die.
it makes a more interesting story. Yeah, I mean, Uncle Ben has to die, like you said. What else? What other pop culture things? There's a lot of dying in pop culture.
Yeah.
I mean,
look at Demon Slayer. His whole family, except for one, is dead.
Yeah, Wanda loses vision like 3 times.
Yeah, no, I mean, terrible. Power comes with responsibility, folks.
Yes.
All right, so the movie all starts off with runaway Hodoka looking for a place to stay, which kind of works back to one of Shinkai's other films, She and Her Cat. So he's kind of like a stray cat looking for a place to be accepted. He then inserts the Sunshine Girl supernatural plot device, and in which somebody can actually manipulate the weather. So Hodoka works for an occult magazine, so this is how he's able to find Hina. Now Shinkai also uses the imagery of the shrine here. So much like in Your Name, where there was the shrine and then the altar to the gods, there is also a shrine on top of
a building.
And so both of these characters, both Mitsuha and Hina, can be considered shrine maidens, which in this case, where Mitsuha connects past and present, Hina connects sky and earth. So Hodoka and Hina are also bonded by the fact that they're orphaned in a huge city trying to make their way independently. They don't want to be split up or anything like that because they're trying to create this family.
Yes.
Let's see here. Let's see. As Hina uses her ability to manipulate the weather, fame brings money and money brings attention, but not wanting to be separated from her brother, she stops taking new assignments. But as they learn throughout the story from the different temple maidens, the different stories, folklore, and things that the magazine reporters come to find from the different stories, from the different shrines and the different priests and priestess that they talk to, it all comes with repercussions. So the rains that are stopped cause more rains to come later.
Yes, and heavier, I think, right?
Yes.
You stop it now, but it starts drowning out the city.
So in a very Full Metal Alchemist way of laws of exchange, Hina starts to become the water that she used her power to stop. So she becomes kind of this human sacrifice to the rains to subside, and then she basically gets zipped up to the sky. Kind of a Miyazaki moment.
Which I would understand if I watched more Miyazaki. I just haven't gotten to it though. I will, but I haven't. But I will.
All right. Hodoka uses the rooftop shrine to try and save her. So as soon as he goes through that shrine,
another, supernatural phenomena, dealing with the shrines. Because like Taki used the shrine to, see a bunch of visions and go back in time. He's using the shrine to try to find Hina wherever she is in the sky.
So then he gets transported into the sky, finds her. They somehow fall with style.
Much like Buzz Lightyear teaches us how to do at a very young age. Yes.
Back to the city of Tokyo. Basically, this shrine is like a magic portal that gets him to meet the girl that he loves and save her just in time, instead of meeting the girl that he loves at a time and place to save her from the past. So that's kind of where the two movies kind of come together. Water is the huge device in this
movie.
Yeah. So all the expectations that were placed on Hina to be the human sacrifice for good weather, in essence, she becomes responsible for stopping all this water. And her life being sacrificed would do that. But when she decides that she is going to live for herself, then the rain falls from earth, much like how she's falling from the clouds down with Hadoka. The rain just keeps falling. So at this point in time, Tokyo gets flooded with like never-ending rain, but she's alive and she gets to live her own life.
It's kind of like, I know he works in a lot of real life or metaphors that can, be kind of prescient, I guess. Because that one's, I think he said it was more like climate change type thing.
Yes.
So that, things like that. So you see that towards the end where you see a bunch of Tokyo just submerged in water because of it. But
and then
it was interesting. Most anime go for or a lot, not even just anime, a lot of shows go for I should just sacrifice myself to save everybody. But I don't think that's always realistic. Some people can be like
realistic.
that. But most people have their own wants that they want to fulfill. They have their own things in life that they want to do. Why should Hina have to give up being who she is for everybody else? And I like that this story didn't go that way, where she's just like, oh, no, it's okay. Because those make good endings. It's not anything bad. But I like also watching an ending that goes against the grain, I guess, that gives me something different, but that still makes sense within the whole context of the movie. So.
Well, also, we have Mitsuha and Taki that make an appearance in this movie as well.
Which was surprising. I saw it the first time I watched the movie, because I was with some friends. I remember seeing it and getting really excited. I was like, I see them here. I was kind of bummed that it wasn't like super future, so I could see them actually together. But it was still nice seeing them in the other movie, especially when I wasn't expecting it. So sorry for spoiling it for y'all, but they're in there.
Well, and then apparently Aqua from Konosuba is in there.
I saw the memes, so I have to rewatch the movie to make sure I see that, because I want to.
There's like a cosplay convention going on, so there's like a Godzilla, an Aqua, and like some other character in the background. So, hey,
so I will rewatch that.
He watches anime too, and he's got his favorites.
Exactly.
All right.
That was. I really did like that they showed up. It was even Shinkai was like, oh, I kind of just thought it'd be cool to have own little mini universe, like in his own movies too. Which he kind of wrote himself into a corner by flooding everything, because you kind of have to try to make the timelines match up. But other than that, it was cool. He's done it in other movies too. For Your Name, the teacher for Mitsuha School is from a different one of his movies called Garden of Words.
Oh yeah.
So he's done it before. So that means the next movie I watch of his, I'll just have to be laser focused to see. All right, is that Mitsuha?
Unless it's a sequel.
Is that Hodoka? Is that Hina?
Yeah, unless it's a sequel involving all of them.
Oh, I doubt it. It'd be nice. So if you ever watch this, even if you don't, you should do it, or at least give me like a 15-minute OVA showing me their futures.
Yeah.
So I can have closure.
Or some manga.
That's about it.
Just like 5 chapters of manga.
Yeah, easy. Something that you can just finish out in knock out 30 minutes.
You just need an epilogue, man.
Exactly.
All right, that is all for us for Makoto Shinkai for today. Next time on episode 15, we'll be talking about leveling up your life. So, why not we've got lots of different characters throughout anime that are trying to improve themselves. You know, Mob's always trying to get his stamina up.
Yes.
Amongst others, Tomozaki-kun and all that.
And which is one of our winter 2021 shows, which is pretty good. So.
It is. So, if you want to learn how to level up your life, just like an anime character, tune in 2 weeks. We'll see.